Up to $800,000 gone. An 8 on Your Side investigation uncovered that HARC, a longtime champion for the support and treatment of the developmentally disabled, took that money from its clients without their knowledge or permission. The state attorney general investigated and closed the case. But now senior investigative reporter Steve Andrews says others want a more thorough investigation.
Bill Chambliss was one of about 50 clients at the Hillsborough Association of Retarded Citizens, or HARC, whose money was taken from a trust fund set up for their care. That money, mostly from Social Security, was put aside for things like dental treatments, trips to the movies, an occasional meal at a restaurant. Bill's brother-in-law is HARC Foundation Chair Steve Brannick.
It was done without their permission and knowledge, including without our knowledge for our brother-in-law Bill. So to our mind on the board, that makes it wrong.
So wrong, Florida's Attorney General launched an investigation in 2011. HARC's board discovered that CEO Richard Lilliston allowed the agency to take up to $800,000 from the client's trust fund. Money belonging to Bill and other clients plugged holes in HARC's budget. Instead of paying for a meal at McDonald's, it helped pay for things like salaries and perks for Lilliston and CFO Frank Pannulo. Perks that included what Brannick says was an unauthorized $1,800 a month car allowance for each and cell phones for Lilliston's family. HARC terminated both Pannulo and Lilliston.
They didn't care about funds.
Months later, at a July 2012 meeting, HARC board members, feeling the pressure of the AG investigation and imminent financial collapse, lashed out at Lilliston and Pannulo.
They sat there and asked for raises and bonuses, and when we didn't give them what they asked for, they took it anyway. They took the car allowance.
Jerking us around and giving everybody cell phones, and this is outrageous.
What's even more outrageous, this all happened right under the nose of HARC's board of directors. Pannulo initially told us he didn't remember how the client's money was used. Do you know if it was spent on operations?
It was probably borrowed for operations. It should show in the foundation books.
Okay. Do you know if anybody gave permission to move the money out of that client's account into HARC's for operations?
CEO had to have.
CEO Lilliston, a media darling while at HARC, he enticed local TV personalities, including several from News Channel 8, to participate in charity fashion shows, bowling events, and golf tournaments to raise money for HARC.
I want to thank all of our supporters again.
Never shy about discussing the agency on camera back then, Lilliston refuses comment now. He wouldn't come to his door to answer questions about why he used clients' money without their permission. But as we left, he peeked out from behind a tree.
It's actually taking money from the very people that we advocate for.
Deborah Linton is the executive director of the ARC of Florida, a statewide organization whose mission is to improve the quality of life for people like Bill.
I've never seen an organization overall take this amount of resident funds and use it for themselves. It's pretty shocking, and we were very disturbed by it.
The Attorney General found no criminal wrongdoing. It closed the case and referred it to the Department of Financial Services. When asked, the AG's office said the wording of the trust allowed HARC to spend the client's money.
I don't see that that's allowed at all, and I would sure hope that the Attorney General would take a second look at this.
Elder law attorney Charlie Robinson reviewed the trust for 8 on Your Side. He says the wording is clear. The trust was set up for clients' supplemental needs and care. What HARC management did was wrong.
I think there are huge legal questions that are raised that law enforcement, whether it's the Attorney General or somebody, should really take a much closer look at.
As for clients like Bill who lost their money, they won't be getting it back anytime soon. In Tampa, Steve Andrews, News Channel 8.
Deborah Linton says if HARC is allowed to get away with taking clients' money, it sets a dangerous precedent statewide. The Attorney General's office says it is confident in the way it's handled the HARC investigation and its referral to the Department of Financial Services.
What happened to their money, and what is law enforcement doing about it? Two questions raised by an 8 on Your Side investigation into missing money at the Hillsborough Association for Retarded Citizens, or HARC as it's better known. Tonight, senior investigative reporter Steve Andrews has confirmed Florida's Attorney General, as well as other agencies, are investigating the 60-year-old agency known nationally for its care and treatment of developmentally disabled people. The Attorney General last year closed its investigation into Medicare fraud issues, but tonight Steve tells us there are a lot of other questions that need answers.
Vicki Caldwell is a 44-year-old woman with the mental capacity of an 18-month-old. Her mother, Carolyn, placed Vicki with the Hillsborough Association for Retarded Citizens, or HARC, more than 20 years ago. She's lived in a HARC Riverview group home since. Our investigation has discovered HARC took most of the $49,000 Vicki was supposed to have in a special trust and used it to help fund its daily operations.
We were never told that they were going to use money from the trust fund to keep the doors open.
Well, that's what HARC did. Among the expenses Vicki's money helped pay for, an $1,800 a month car allowance for former CEO Richard Lilliston and another one for former CFO Frank Panulo.
That's what I was worried about.
Carolyn Caldwell saw our prior reports on HARC, which reveal mismanagement and possible criminal activity. She had no idea Vicki accumulated that amount of money or that HARC went through it.
But I was never given information as to how much was in her account. And I think they should have to account for every penny that's missing.
Vicki, along with other group home residents, receives Medicaid benefits. Since Medicaid recipients can't have more than $2,000 in assets, the government allows agencies like HARC to set up trusts in which clients can bank money for treatments and therapies that Medicaid will not cover. Our investigation found while the agency did indeed establish a trust, that's not where it put the client's money. Instead, the benefits of more than 40 clients, including Vicki's, were deposited into a money market account in SunTrust Bank, where it became a giant HARC slush fund. Trust attorney Charlie Robinson.
There's a proper way to handle a pooled trust. This just doesn't appear to me that there was anything proper about it.
The contracts HARC had clients sign to join the trust, called joinder agreements, were hardly proper either. Carolyn Caldwell doesn't remember signing such an agreement. Maybe Vicki did.
Vicki's not capable. She has an 18-month mentality, and so she wouldn't be capable of signing anything or agreeing to anything.
Didn't seem to matter to HARC who signed what. According to an Attorney General's investigation of the trust and HARC, a former employee found clients who were not mentally competent signed these agreements without a guardian present, basically handing the money to HARC. This one signed by a developmentally disabled client named Robert Franklin in 2007. Not only was this document signed by former CEO Lilliston and notarized by former CFO Panulo in 2007, another significant problem, the employees who signed as witnesses in 2007 didn't start working for HARC until 2009.
That sure smells. It sure looks bogus to me.
It all smelled bogus to HARC's board of directors, too. The board fired Lilliston when it learned of his lavish car allowance and that HARC had cleaned out clients' accounts. Recordings of summer 2012 board meetings reveal HARC teetered on financial collapse. The board decided it would pay only essential bills to keep the lights on. But it had something else on its mind. The board wanted to know if HARC had the money to pay for an insurance policy to protect it, the board, from lawsuits filed by angry family members. Carolyn Caldwell says she'd consider participating in a class action lawsuit against HARC's board because, among other things, she claims with the money gone, Vicki cannot afford to go to a dentist to have a front tooth that was knocked out replaced.
I think she deserves the money back, and it deserves to be used for what it's supposed to be allocated for. The speech therapy, the physical therapy, dental, whatever the needs are that there's not enough funds through Medicaid to pay for.
All of those clients deserve their money back. According to HARC's attorney, about $700,000 is gone, spent without the knowledge or permission of clients or family members. And that's just a part of it. Florida's Department of Financial Services is investigating HARC, billing the state for services it did not provide. Now, Attorney General Pam Bondi told me on Monday multiple units within her office are actively investigating this matter along with other agencies, but so far, no one has been held accountable.
So, HARC is gone.
Yep.
The CEO, the CFO, gone. The money is gone.
Yep.
What is the chance of recovering any of this?
That is why the board is so interested in whether or not its insurance policy is paid up, Gail, because it appears the only hope that clients have might be filing a civil action against HARC and the board that puts insurance money into play. You know, Gail, when I talked to Carolyn Caldwell, she asked about physical and speech therapy for Vicki, and she was told there just wasn't any money for those services.
But there was plenty of money for some pretty cushy car allowances.
Makes you mad, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does.
The U.S. government is now accusing the Hillsborough Association for Retarded Citizens, or HARC, of stealing its clients' Social Security benefits. Money that was placed in a special fund for their use was siphoned off into HARC's daily operating account. Will sound familiar? It's exactly what 8 on Your Side senior investigative reporter Steve Andrews told us was occurring, and he's here with the latest.
Natalie, the government filed this forfeiture complaint with a federal judge. It is identified and wants to seize $87,000 sitting in a HARC account at Synovus Bank. The Justice Department claims those funds are the proceeds of theft from the federal government. The money came from clients like 44-year-old Vicki Caldwell. In April, we disclosed that HARC took $49,000 of Vicki's Social Security benefits. Vicki's mother, Carolyn Caldwell.
And I think they should have to account for every penny that's missing.
In May, we told you HARC took $7,100 from Robert Franklin, an individual with Down syndrome who has since died. Robert's brother, Ralph.
That money was stolen from them, in my opinion.
Investigators believe HARC illegally took up to $700,000 of clients' money and used it to keep the doors open. Here's how the government says it happened. HARC obtained the signatures of 47 developmentally disabled clients like Vicki and Robert on complicated contracts like this.
They knew that he didn't have the mental capability to enter into this kind of legal agreement.
Vicki's not capable. She has an 18-month mentality.
The contract supposedly allowed HARC to administer the client's money. Attorney Peter Hobson.
You can't, under Florida law, ask somebody who doesn't have the competency to understand the document to execute the document. It's 101 contract law.
The feds labeled those contracts a sham. A joint federal and state criminal investigation discovered HARC unlawfully set up bank accounts for Vicki, Robert, and others, then siphoned away their Social Security benefits. Hobson agrees that is a real legal issue.
It is criminal fraud under the Social Security law if you receive payment from Social Security for the benefit of an individual and then appropriate that money to anything other than the benefit of that individual.
When confronted, former Chief Financial Officer Frank Panullo at first denied knowledge of how the client's money was spent. Can you tell us how HARC spent the client's money that was all pooled into a big account?
No, I don't remember. Don't know.
Do you know if it was spent on operations?
It was probably borrowed for operations. It should show in the foundation books.
The federal investigation confirmed our earlier reports that HARC used the money to fund its daily operations, which included $1,800 a month car allowances for former CEO Richard Lilliston and Panullo. Do you know if any of that money may have paid for your car allowance?
If it went into operations.
Panullo says CEO Lilliston had to know about the movement of the money. Lilliston has refused all comment about what happened at HARC. The investigation also confirms something else we told you. The agreements Robert and others signed in 2007 were also signed by Lilliston, notarized by Panullo, and witnessed by employees who didn't start working for HARC until 2 years later.
You know, somebody in government needs to stand up for these kind of children that cannot protect themselves.
Well, someone did stand up. The U.S. Attorney's Office, the Department of Health and Human Services, and Florida's Department of Financial Services. And this is some of what they found. In 2010, Social Security deposits totaling just over $99,000 were transferred from client accounts at Synovus Bank into the HARC Endowment Fund. In 2011, $120,000 was unlawfully transferred, and in 2012, another $69,000 was illegally siphoned away. That totals to about $288,000 in about 3 years, taken from 56 developmentally disabled people.